I want to use this as a backdrop, and the title of this is going to be Samson Reconsidered. Two things really color. A lot of people make fun of the story of Samson in the Bible, so I want to set some facts for you to consider. The Victor Mature movie has colored basically the story of Samson for most people in America. Now, in it, Victor Mature is killing an African lion with his bare hands. African lions are on the plains of Central Africa. They're not in the hills of Judea. However, at that time, there were mountain lions up there. It's a totally different animal. It's the difference in weight is about 200 to 300 pounds difference. A mountain lion, 130 to 175 pounds. A much different. It's doable for a human being to kill a mountain lion, puma, cougar. They're all the same animal. They're the most varied names of probably any of the big cats. And it's possible to even for a man to kill a big cat. I know the way to do it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Just one-on-one. It's a slim chance, but I do know how to do it. For the mountain lion, it's a different thing. You could do it by main strength. Probably several people could. It wasn't just Samson could have done it. There's probably at any one time, you get an alpha male, juiced up enough on, needing to do it. He could do it. The other thing I wanted to talk about was if you get a copy of the 1611 King James Bible, it's written in Middle English, so it's hard to understand. The only reason to really get it is to get the foreword in it. So there was 200 scholars that translated the King James Bible, and they say in that foreword that some of the words they didn't understand, and they just did the best they could. If you'll note, the translation for foxes should actually be jackals in the story, where he gets the firebrands and puts them between the tail of all these foxes and lets them go in a field. Well, for that many foxes would cover to tie the firebrands between their tails, that would cover approximately about 300 square miles. He couldn't cover that to catch that many. However, in that area of the world at that time, there were roving bands of jackals. The Hebrew word would be the same for a fox as it would be for a jackal. You can, to this day, they gather in large herds, and they're pretty passive. You could actually catch. They've done experiments where you can catch a jackal, and so it wouldn't be that big of a deal to catch several of them and tie a firebrand to them and release them in a field. The other thing of the feats of strength that Samson did. Remember, Samson generally lived in the highlands where the oxygen was thinner most of his life. He would come down, and virtually all of his strength feats were at a lower altitude level, where he would have an advantage about 10% over everybody else of power output, because he had more blood cells, because he lived in a lower oxygen environment. So that's something to consider. And also the last of his strength feats was actually probably the easiest one. If you go where he's blinded and he's put at a grist mill, and then towards the right at the end of his life, he's put between the two pillars. And this from watching it at the gym all the time. You see a guy that's kind of skinny, but he's sitting there on the leg press machine, and he's got it loaded up to 1,200 pounds, and he's only moving it like 2 inches. Well, that's the same thing. Samson was put between the two forbidden pillars to be made sport of, and he pushed his arms out and bowed with all his might. Well, those were undressed stones that they were put on, and the pillars of the temple would fit across it. When I say undressed stones, there was nothing supporting them, so there would be the two stones holding up the whole temple. Now, don't Don't get the Cyclopean temple that was in the Victor Mature Samson movie confused with what it probably was. There, it was probably, like I said, it was probably just stacked. Well, they probably were dressed stones, but there was no central core lining stacking on them. So if you push those two over, the whole structure would have come down. Anyway, that's my take, and so check out. There's a book by kind of an obscure author called Mike Brown, The Strength of Samson and How to Attain It, and he covers some of the strength feats there, and they could be done by, you look at the world's strongest men competition. A lot of those guys could have kind of done pretty much everything you see Samson do, and remember, like when Samson uses the jawbone of an axe, back then most of the weapons were made out of copper. So a jawbone of an axe was actually probably preferable to a copper weapon. So anyway, check all that out. Anyway, it's called Mike Brown, The Strength of the Secret of Samson's Strength. And I'm out.